Hello, welcome to Grief and Brief with Henry Ford SandCastles. Today, I am Peggy and I am joined by two of my awesome coworkers, Katie and Charlie. Thanks for jumping on here with us today. And our topic in this month of February is how love shows up. So, how does love show up when we're going through a grief journey after someone we love has died? And how does it show up? So, as a team, as a full St. Castles team, we talked actually yesterday about this topic a little bit and came up with some ideas. So, we're going to share some of those ideas. And again, I thank Katie and Charlie for joining me to share those.
Happy to
So,
be here, Peggy.
yay. The first thing I thought of as soon as we started talking about this is when my dad died, we had so much on the St. Castles schedule. We were about to run a fundraiser. Our LAPTF Rock in the Keys was just days away, and I was in charge of doing all of that. We had a webinar that we were participating in and putting out to the public to invite to. There was a lot. And when something happens suddenly in your life, it stops you in your tracks. And it's like, how do you figure out how to do everything? I feel this responsibility to do work because that's what I was working on. And maybe I'm the only one who knows something about something, but yet you can't because you need to turn to the other thing. So I just give a shout out to all my teammates. Um, admittedly, we do work for a grief support program, so we are familiar with this, but I think the whole world should know that when someone has someone die, being able to support something and take things off their plate that they are responsible for and feel that responsibility is huge. And I literally met Kelly in the parking lot of Panera and remember just handing her everything I had. And she's like, "Don't worry about it. I will pick it up. I will run with it." She did. Linda joined in place of me when I couldn't be at the event. She joined Kelly. And I didn't worry about it. I didn't think about it again. I didn't worry about it because I had people around me who could pick up that and all the other stuff that was on my plate for that week. Um, so a shout out to all my team members because I know we all do this together and really think about that, for the community when you see somebody who you're working with or a neighbor of how I think that's how love shows up. Show up and say, "Hey, what do you need? What can I take off your plate that, would help?" That's one way. Kelly had shared, also, Kelly has shared her story with us before. Her best friend Aaron died, and Kelly is now raising Aaron's son, Winslow. When Aaron died and Kelly and Winslow was coming to live with them, they were really trying to figure out how to manage. She already has three girls in her family and how to manage this and who was going to share rooms. And a lot of tumultuousness happens, right? Winslow's moving into a completely different house. And when they made that decision to do that, and they got guardianship of him, they actually planned a vacation so they could all go out and just chill for some time as a family. And they had a friend who came up and said, "All right, let me come in when you're on vacation and I'm going to build Winslow a room." And that's what they did. The friend came in, they kind of redesigned the house. They built a couple more walls to create another room, which would solve some of the spacing problems they had. And when Kelly and family got back, Winslow had a bedroom, which was a pretty cool gift to give. I think another great story that she shared about her friends when her father died. When he died, it was like she couldn't even speak. She just didn't even know what to do. And her friends came over to support her. And they didn't sit down and expect her to talk. What they did is they just started helping take care of the tasks that were around the house. They cleaned her house, they did the dishes, and they just supported her in those things. Again, those things that you have responsibility for, and as an adult, you feel like you need to get done, right? They're your responsibility. But when someone dies and you're in that grief mode, it's hard to do anything. And so her friends just came over and picked it up and did it.
Yeah, I think to your point, Peggy, those are, some of the things that folks don't necessarily think about or they're unsure. I think, Katie even talked about. Was it like with meals or preparing meals or something like that? Like some of those basic things, when I think about like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, meaning like some of that basic, food and sleep and some of these basic things for support when we're grieving, or when we're in shock, we're, don't even know what to say or how to talk, or everything is foggy, that people step up in ways that are really important.
Yeah, and I think just even the act of being present, that example that Kelly had given us about them coming over and cleaning and doing the dishes, I mean, that is in and of itself an amazing gift. I think even just the act of sitting down with someone and letting them know, like, I'm here for you. We don't need to talk. We can sit here. We can watch a movie. We can listen to music. Like, just having that person be present, 'cause it can feel really isolating when you're processing grief, especially during that period of shock, if it comes unexpectedly and you don't even know what you need. But maybe you know that you don't want to be alone. Um, so the ability to have somebody just be present and not expect anything from you, can be amazing as well. And for me personally, I had people in my life that were able to offer that to me, which I was so grateful for. Just even having someone present while I slept right after I found out that my dad had died, was comforting for me. And my best friend Jesse, who actually lives on the other side of the state, offered to drive over food for me. And at the time, I wasn't ready to have company, and she respected that and ended up sending me a gift card for DoorDash so I could still have food delivered to me, but on my own terms, which I really, really appreciated her going above and beyond in that way for me and respecting my boundary that I just wasn't ready to have people around yet. Um, so that was a few different ways that people in my life showed up. And also providing some reputable resources. A good friend of my dad was familiar with an attorney, a family attorney that could help with probate and things like that, was able to provide me with a phone number so I didn't have to kind of go out and try to find somebody reputable. I was able to just have that provided to me, which was so helpful. And then, of course, referrals for grief support groups. I obviously work in an environment where those are readily available to me. But I know a lot of people, it can just be overwhelming going online and trying to search for that and not knowing, what to expect from those groups. Or is it for adults? Is it for kids? Is it, faith based? Is it not? Just trying to sort through that stuff, knowing when you're ready to attend those things. It can be really overwhelming to even know where to start when you're looking for those kinds of resources. So to have people that have experienced that and be willing to give you that information, and then you can kind of know that they've gone through it and they have good things to say about it, can really be beneficial too. And along those lines, I personally want to shout out Gift of Life. My dad was an organ donor, and Gift of Life was amazing through the entire process from the moment that they called me and walked me through the process of that entire thing. They were so calm and gentle and just provided me with such, I, I don't even know how to describe it, but it just felt like a warm hug over the phone almost from them. And they continued to follow up almost every week. I would check my mailbox and I would have something unexpected from Gift of Life, whether it was pamphlets with resources and checklists on, what things I needed to take care of, or they sent homemade tied fleece blankets, one for each member of our family. And my cats have already taken ownership of that. So, but they were just so amazing with sharing, that gift that my dad was able to give, and just provided me with a lot of comfort knowing that he was able to provide help to others even after his death. So special shout out to Gift of Life with that.
we'll do a quick, dare I say, Sandcastles plug, because one of the things that we're talking about, we do have the benefit of working in a grief support program, but we also at Sandcastles do grief consult calls. And if anybody in the community, if you don't have the resources, if you don't know that, please feel free to call us because we are happy to provide those to you. You can pass them on to a friend, or if you yourself are in need, even without like enrolling in our program, just say, I need this, and we're happy to pass on what we have. So just as an FYI. So following up with that, love shows up. I know that I always feel a little bit when I see something that is in my world. For example, for my dad, it's dimes. And so when for my mom, it's birds. So when I see those, especially a robin, um, out in the world, it kind of, it just is a real sweet heart plant. Um, and Charlie, I loved, ironically, that wording passes right on to, I loved your story about the planter. So I'm going to pass it to you. That was
Yeah.
not on purpose, by the way. That was just,
Oh, it was a delightful pun. Yeah, and just to go off a little bit of what Peggy said, I am going to tell a story about a planter, but I think there's lots of little things that can remind us of our person, whether that's a song on the radio, that your person really liked, or maybe, you would listen to together, or even that person's, favorite number or their birthday, if you see it come up. There's all these little things that maybe before, when that person was living, that you wouldn't even necessarily think about or have as a clear of association. But after someone dies, those things shift and they become different, and they can become really special. And so one of the things for me was I helped my mom run a flea market booth pretty much my entire life. And my mom ran her own business. She sold new and used musical instruments. And so we would have a booth pretty much since before I was even in school, like 4 or 5. I started at one flea market. That flea market didn't work any longer. We went, we did a second one, and it was like our family thing. So um, I was at a flea market. I want to say this was last year, and it was the weekend of Mother's Day, and my mom died on Mother's Day, so I really dread Mother's Day. I don't like the month leading up to it, maybe even 2 months leading up to it. I don't like spring as much anymore. It's just a something I typically dread. And I thought, well, it's Mother's Day weekend. Me and my mom um, ran these booths for years. I'm just going to go to the flea market. I was by myself, and just kind of see what's going on. And the minute I walked into that flea market, I felt a sense of peace and connection. And I think it's because it was so familiar. It was, even though I didn't know the people, it's sometimes there's characters at flea markets if you've never been to one, and there's a way that people wheel and deal, or there's a way that people talk, or run a swap meet, and there's a whole way of doing things on the inside. And I miss doing those things with my mom. And so I walked in and I felt really comfortable. And I had been to this flea market quite a few times, and I saw a woman probably roughly around my mom's age, or what my mom would be. And I just was chatting with her because she had items that I liked. And I ended up buying a couple different items from her. And, she was just telling me a little bit about her life. And she had a daughter who had died, who I think was probably around my age. And, some of these things she had actually kind of collected, I think, with her daughter. And she just had too much, which I totally get. And just had a lovely exchange, bought a few items, and I saw this ceramic planter in the corner that had a plant in it. And she did the wheel and deal talk. She said, "Oh, you buy that planter, you get the plant." And I'm thinking, yeah, I know it was always going to come like that. But, that's like something
Bonus.
my mom would say, right? That's an upsell. And it worked. I'm a sucker. It worked. And I was like, yeah. And planter was painted in a way. This is something my mom would just have in her house. The style of it, the color of it, it's just something that my mom would own. And I put it up in my house, didn't think too much about it. And about a week later, I was moving it or I was cleaning, and I picked up the planter and I looked at the bottom of it, and carved into the bottom, probably when the ceramic was wet, the person, they'll normally do a signature or a stamp right on a homemade ceramic. And I picked it up and it said, "Love, Mom." And my heart just dropped. And I thought, what are the odds that I would buy it in this way and there's this message? And it still gives me chills because it's just something that I didn't expect. So you have those reminders, big and small, of your person, even though they're no longer physically here.
So sweet. That was meant for you.
Yeah, it felt like it.
Yeah. And yeah. Gl- People call those glimmers, that those are little glimmers out there. So love that.
I'll
Love
take
those
it.
stories. I'll
I'll
take
get
it.
some
I know.
glimmers.
Let's shower glimmers on people like Tinkerbell showers pixie dust. Well, and on that same theme, then the last thing we want to kind of talk about for a couple minutes is how some of the examples where people have done really beautiful honorary things after the person has died. It doesn't, maybe not immediately, but at some point where you're reflecting back and because we know just because when someone dies and the funeral's over and life goes on, right? But that person's missing that person doesn't stop because the funeral's done. And it goes on for a long time. And I think for lifetimes, right? Um, because the love that we have for that person is still there. So when we remember them, that love feels probably hand in hand with the grief and the sadness of them not being here. So, um, but Kelly had shared a beautiful story of Erin's friends after she had died. They had a Friendsgiving, which they had been doing. And every Friendsgiving, they select a cause or a family, and they all put in money into a pot and donate that in honor of, like, to a family, in honor of someone, or to a cause that they choose in the year when Kelly had Winslow come live, they collected for their family. And so they gave him $2,000 from their Friendsgiving in order to help with all the expenses and changes and things, which I think is a really beautiful way to honor their friend Erin and honor the Beasley family. Yeah. Um, another example that we talked about at team, and this has happened to a couple people, was when you get a picture or a letter or something that someone had. So, and I don't know if everyone thinks about this, so it is something to think about, but maybe somebody died a couple years ago and you are now like cleaning out your basement and going through a bin and you find a really sweet picture of an old photo or something that the person sent and passing it back to the family. I mean, certainly if you want to keep it and that's meaningful, please keep it. But you can also take a picture of it on your phone and text it to the family, right? Then both of you can have it. Just that little reach out of, oh, I remember when your mom did this, or I remember when your dad did this. We have a family friend, Mrs. Sullivan, who grew up in Magnolia. Shout out to my Magnolia crowd. It was a really tight group of people, families that grew up together. And, all our parents remained friends for years and years and years. Um, and Mrs. Sullivan always had a really beautiful ability to remember someone. And after I felt like it was a couple months after, the funeral's over, everything was over. My brothers and I would get a gift in the mail from Mrs. Sullivan. Well, she did sent one after my mom died and after my dad died. And it was just a sweet little gift that had meaning around them, um, and around our family, and just with love in those words. And those are really sweet. It was really sweet. It just brought tears to my eyes. And to know that other people remember your person, too is, how is powerful. That's important.
I
I
think
think,
also getting an opportunity to like learn about the person in a lifetime where maybe you weren't a part of it yet. Like my dad's best friend in college shared a lot of pictures before his funeral, and just kind of seeing my dad as a college student before he had, kids and all of these responsibilities, and learning about, that chapter of his life was a lot of fun. So just that opportunity to continue learning about your person, and keeping
Yes.
that memory alive, and learning, the different um, versions, so to speak, of that person that everyone encountered throughout their life, and seeing the consistency, like there are certain traits that are consistent through somebody's entire life, their values, things like that. And then, some other things that are a little bit different as the years go by. It can be a lot of fun to see and learn about.
My friend Bess, who was my mom's best friend's daughter. I've known her my whole life. She will go through, has been kind of going through all the old Peacock family pictures, and I will get text messages of my mom. Look here's our moms. They did a 6 month stint in San Francisco before either one of them met their husband. They moved from Michigan after becoming nurses and moved out to San Francisco. And I will get pictures of them in San Francisco. Like they're doing this and they're young and we're like,
oh,
who are these guys that they're with on the beach? And
yeah, right.
what? You did what? What? It's really, I love that. Yeah. Tells a story. Learning new stories even when they're not here is fun.
Yeah.
Although at this point we're just putting our own story to those pictures
Right.
because we don't know.
Well, you might be closer than you think. You don't know.
That is true. That is true. Um, I just I don't Jen's not here with us today, so I hope I can do this story justice. But she did share just a beautiful story about gifts that she and her husband gave to each other um, i- for Christmas this year. And they have a lot of animals, and one of the gifts that she gave to him was a Lego that looked exactly like a cat that had died that they loved, a beloved cat. And she like that's a really cool gift. And he gave her actually had taken one of her father's overalls and created a framed um like a box
Shadow box.
shadow box, thank you. And it had the overalls in it, and there were meaningful things in each of the pockets coming out of it and throughout the whole thing. So it was kind of like a collage of real life things that had been her father's, and she had framed it, and which is so sweet and so touching, so kind. So shout out to Jason there. Good idea.
Jason, listen to our podcast.
We do. And there are certainly things I've seen bears, like we send like bears or blankets that are out there that you can find places. Like I want to take a lot of somebody's clothes and turn them into like they cut them into quilt squares and make a blanket, or you can send clothes and have them made into a stuffed animal. Um, there's all sorts of ways. I think hit Etsy and kind of go into memorial ideas and you can come up with lots of different things to do. So yeah, and it can be as simple. Um, Sometimes even the things that we can do even much later can be as simple as just sending a card out of the blue to someone to say I'm thinking about you. Or, oh, I was remembering your person today and here's the story. Or a text message. Cards are kind of fun because we don't get much mail. There's not as much fun mail as there used to be.
Bring back fun mail.
Bring back fun mail. Absolutely. All right. So I think if to kind of wrap up today and this idea of grief and love showing up, and maybe just the idea of love showing up in this month of February and in this, world space where we want to spread love and hope. And I think that knowing that people care about you is a really great gift that you can give. and give to someone. And so our call to action today, for today, or maybe this weekend, or maybe just sometime in the month of February, is think of someone. Think of someone that you know might need that little shout out, and maybe send them a memory or send them a little note or send them a picture, and just send that love. And let's pass love to each other. And if you're the person who had experienced the death of someone and you know that we just listed a few in our last few minutes here of people that have been impactful to us and to our team members. But if you're the person who has been on the receiving, even if it was a little while ago, maybe a little thank you to just say, hey, I really appreciated when you did this. That was really important to me, and I really appreciate the love. So, in this month of February, let's share love with each other.
Here's to
Thank
that.
Here's to that. All right, thank you, Katie and Charlie. And y'all know how to reach us if you need anything. We're here at SandCastles to help support you as you go through your grief journeys. So, until next time, take care.
Bye, guys. Happy Valentine's
Bye.
Day.